Well, let's speak now to Steve Dagworthy, a former prisoner and senior consultant at Prison Consultants. Thanks for joining us this morning, Steve. I mean, what do you make of this violent reduction pilot that's taken place across 10 prisons?
Well, let's be honest. I mean, it's clearly quite good news, isn't it? I mean, what it shows is the investment that was taken from the prison service originally has been put back into the prison service in security measures and meaningful activity for prisoners whilst they're in prison. It's actually having a positive effect on reduction in violence and reduction in drugs. What's quite a shame is that we actually seem to be judging our prisons based on the violent activity and the drugs that are in prison, when in fact we should be concentrating on the basis that prisons, the primary function of a prison is to rehabilitate offenders, and the judgment should be based on that and reducing the recidivism bill, which is huge, something like £15 billion to the taxpayer every year. But in saying that, this is clearly a step in the right direction.
£1 million investment in each of the 10 prisons taking part. Do you think that figure's enough, and can we afford it?
Well, we can't not afford it. As I've just said, I mean, what prisons are at the moment places where people are not rehabilitated. They are becoming more sophisticated criminals. They're being dehumanised, they're being degraded, and they're being disenfranchised by society, such that when they come out of prison, where do they go? They generally go back to their villainous means, and that causes the rise in recidivism, which has a cost, and the cost to the taxpayer is listed as £15 billion a year. So, you know, £10 million or £1 million per prison, if they can reduce their recidivism by 50%, surely economically has to make sense, doesn't it?
Do you think you can eradicate violence in prisons completely, given the fact that, by their very nature, prisons are places that are occupied, in many cases, by violent people?
No, I don't think you can. I think you can get it down to an acceptable level. I'm not sure what that acceptable level is, but if you look at the recent statistics that came out last month, I mean, day by day, prisons are becoming more and more dangerous places to be, and the figures are rising, you know, in double figures percentages. But you know, prisons are dangerous places. I mean, they're full of people who don't want to be there, some who feel they shouldn't be there, and some who are looking to take vengeance on society or anyone else that's around them. So you're never going to eradicate it, nor are you ever likely to eradicate the drugs, but you've got to get it under control. And like I said, then the way to do that actually is to look at the numbers that we have in our system, the fact that the system is creaking with overcrowding, and look to ways possibly to look at reducing numbers such that the people that are in prison are there for the rehabilitation purpose and not just society wreaking revenge. And let's get smart about how we deal with prisoners and sentence people in the first place.
How do you reduce those numbers?
Well, the prison system has the purpose of prison is to rehabilitate offenders. If an offender can show by whichever judicial monitoring process that there is that actually they are no longer in need of the rehabilitative process, and actually what's happening now is they're being warehoused in prison, at that point perhaps we should have a system in place such as executive release, where we can start releasing people who are safe to be released back into society, and start their licence conditions earlier. Then we're not reducing their sentence, they're not being released, they're not being freed. Basically what we're doing is saying, OK, look, there's nothing more you can offer the prison, there's nothing more the prison can offer you. We are going to put you on licence. Now, the saving would be somewhere in the region of, it costs £30,000 or £40,000 to keep someone in a Cat B, Cat C prison, to £5,000 being on licence. If that person can go to work and offer something back to society, actually, it may be cash positive as far as the taxpayer is concerned. And what that means then is you've got prisoners in prisons who are in need of the rehabilitative process, and where the assets are there to provide them with that.
Steve, good to talk. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed.